A French ship called the Royal Sun, built in Brest, France between 1668 and 1670.
Unfortunately, she met her demise during the Battle of Cherbourg in 1692. A model replica of the French ship can be found in Millsboro. It was built with painstaking detail by David Clarke, but it's not the only ship in his fleet. Over the years, the retired oceanographer has spent countless hours creating maritime marvels that never touch a drop of water. David Clarke of Millsboro is no stranger to the water. He made a career on it as an oceanographer.
We were up in the North Sea, down in Australia, China, Africa, was up in the Arctic during the winter as well. And it was a challenge, it really was.
Today, he keeps his feet on dry land and his hands busy creating ship models.
I've always wanted to build a ship model. I think I built my first one, plastic one, when I was probably about 8 or so. But then started looking at some of the ship models that I got a catalog from, and I said, you know, that would be fun to do.
Fun and time-consuming. David's first model project was a Spanish fishing vessel. When he finished it, he gave it to a friend for his wedding.
And that was it started out innocent enough, but it quickly got out of hand. He said, why can't I put in little lights? I mean, not just LEDs, but actual lanterns. Well, that's all fine and dandy, but how do you do the glass for it? So we developed a technique to build the glass and actually use that in all of the stern of the Royal Sun.
In addition to the time that is needed to meticulously cut, carve, and paint each piece, David took even more time to research the vessel to make sure every detail was historically accurate.
You'll actually see little copper wire in the glass. And it was little things like this that, it's a challenge. So, okay, how do I do that? There's parts on that boat that I must have built 7, 8, 9 times because it just wasn't right.
David can spend hours, even days, on ornamentation alone. That's what happened with the Royal Sun, a project he calls a wedding gift to his wife, a gift that took 30 years to make.
You get the wood, you get the plans, and you got a lot of the ornamentation. The ornamentation was actually done in bronze, but you have a lot of fitting work to do and securing it to the hull and things of this nature. So all of the ornamentation that's done on the Royal Sun is done in 22 karat gold leaf. And I actually went to a gold leaf seminar workshop and explained to the instructor what I was trying to do.
No detail on these ships is ever overlooked, even the ones you can't see.
So I did. I built the Admirals' quarters, and that was all scratch built. Furniture, bed, all these things, and then boarded it all up. I thought my wife was going to shoot me when I did it, but I do have a picture of the actual Admirals' quarters and the officers' dining area. But she said, why board it up? You didn't see ships running around out there with half the Admirals' quarters open, did you?
Dave is always learning new techniques and ways to work with different materials. That comes in handy when he is commissioned to restore models around the country.
We did a project with the Smithsonian. It came up from the Smithsonian. It was going to a company in New York. And it was already damaged, and they wanted to bring it up, have me repair it, and then get it down to the customer in New York. This was about a 350-pound model of an offshore oil rig, all done in metal.
Right now he's working on what he calls the most complex model he's ever tackled.
I think after this I may start looking at making a raft or something like that. This is the Amerigo Vespucci. She's the Italian training ship for the Italian Navy, and she's full rigged, square rigged ship, but absolutely gorgeous lines to it.
The symmetry of the rigging on these ships, despite their complexity, is what really draws David in.
The mass, all the components, how it all goes together. If the masts aren't lined up just right, it won't look right. And all of the masts and yards that I put in these ship models, including the Royal Sun, they're not glued. They're put in place just by the rigging. So you have to worry about the tension and everything else that goes on.
David has high hopes for his current project.
To me, I think the Amerigo Vespucci is probably going to be the ultimate. You know, I've already been working on parts that you don't even see on the plans, but are on the ship itself. And these parts, some of these parts are, you know, less than 1/16 of an inch thick. Some are brass, some are different woods.
He even had the opportunity to take mental notes of the ship.
The fun part was that she actually came into New York Harbor a number of years ago. And where I worked was right at Caven Point, right basically behind the Statue of Liberty. I immediately sat back and said, look, boss, I'm going to the pier. And walked around the ship with one of the cadets there and just learned little things about the ship. And you start trying to copy details, the way the deck is planked.
Completing a project like this can conjure a cache of emotions.
There's actually a variety of feelings, one of which is accomplishment. The other is like, dang, what's next? When I finished the Royal Sun, I walked upstairs and turned to Joan and just looked at her, and she looked at me and went, is it? I said, yes, there's whales, no problem. And, you know, we celebrated a little bit, and then we actually did a christening.
The Royal Sun was commissioned to greet visitors in David's home, a stately demonstration of his talent, patience, and perseverance. But it's also a symbol of a shipwright's love for his craft.
Now, David retired to Delmarva after living in New Jersey. In addition to being an oceanographer, he was also part of a search and rescue team. He has actually been recognized for the work he did after the attacks of the World Trade Center in 2001.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. There's layers to that story.
It sure are.